What is up, guys? So, bringing you a video that I've been planning to make for a while and I just haven't. I've been dragging my feet, go figure, on making videos. I need to make more content. I say this every time, but it's true. I need to make more content for you guys. It's something that has been a passion of mine and a drive of mine. But for some reason, every time I get the idea, I end up becoming very worried about how it's going to come across, making sure that I'm actually living out what I want to talk about before I talk about it. And then every time I come up with the idea, I don't write scripts really. I like to do things in just like one take and just be done kind of a thing. I rely on editing more than anything. But I all of a sudden will get here to my office, set things up, and then it'll sit here for a couple days, and I don't make the video. I need to get honest with myself about why. But that's not why we're here today. We're here today to talk about this smartphone, flip phone. I don't have my flip phone. I forgot to bring it. Sorry, I don't have my props. But I used a flip phone for 1 month. And I just want to talk about it. 30 days using a flip phone. It was awesome. I just have to be honest. It was incredible. One of the reasons why I did it is because I was reaching a point of severe, like, just an unhealthy mentality. I'm not going to say my mental health was a problem. I'm not trying to be extreme and whatever else, but it was just such a toxic life that I was like lifestyle that I was living. Like there were so many good things throughout the day, but then there were so many things like bogging me down, draining me, pulling back on me and distracting me from what I really needed to do. And it stemmed a lot from this right here. Cause I mean, you open up your smartphone and you have so many apps. And then also in the morning when I grab my smartphone, I try not to grab it first thing. It's hard to do sometimes because we're just trained this way. But I grab my smartphone and there's just notification after notification after notification after notification after notification. And a lot of them are useless. A lot of them aren't anything that I need to worry about. But for some reason, our brain, when we see this stack of notifications, it just like brings this, okay. And it's almost like it's not stressful because half of them don't have anything to do with anything and I don't need them, right? Like they're not pertinent to me. But for some reason, when I get them, I'm just like, ugh. So it was almost like stressful. So I would start my day in this state of being stressed. And then I would move on from there, living my day out with that as the tone. Like it was just unbelievable. And for a few months, me and my wife had been talking about how I just wasn't managing my stress well. It was following me home, or I just wake up and I'd be in this certain mood and whatever else. And it was all just affecting so much. And I needed to really change what I was doing. And so I thought to myself, I need to go through a little bit of a cleanse, a little bit of a detox. And I was like, flip phone is $35. I had to order because I had an eSIM because I have Visible, the cell network Visible, and they had done an eSIM, but now I had to order a physical one so I could put it in my flip phone. And the process of switching over was a little bit of a hassle because iPhone, you can AirDrop your contacts, but you can't do that unless it's another iPhone. And then Bluetooth, you can receive via Bluetooth on here, but you can't send via Bluetooth your contact list, even though my flip phone can receive via Bluetooth. So it was really a bit of a hassle with contacts, having to transfer them over. I would have had to put the SIM back in there, upload them to the SIM, transfer the SIM, and whatever else. So like little minute things like that were like a little bit of a hassle with the flip phone. But I did notice how much in the first 2 to 3 days that I would grab my flip phone, open it, and just be like, oh, there's nothing to do on here. Because this flip phone didn't even have Snake. It didn't even have Snake. It had no games whatsoever. There was a web browser that I never used. Some people would send me links to stuff and I would click it and it would open it. But other than that, I couldn't really couldn't really watch anything or like listen to anything, watch or listen, which is part of the problem on here is that if I have YouTube on here, I'm just watching a podcast or listening to a podcast or whatever it is. And I have Audible and all these things, and I'm constantly listening to something, constant stimulation, right? Well, now that was out the window. Mind you, I didn't get rid of my smartphone. I kept it for when I was on Wi-Fi because I still needed to have access to certain email, social medias, and so on via my work, right? Which we'll get into in a moment. But the first 3 days I was grabbing my flip phone and would flip it open and I would check it. And I'm like, why am I even checking this? I don't have the same notifications that I have when I use my smartphone. Well, what I started to implement was anytime that I did that, I would just find somebody on there and I would shoot them a text. Hey, praying for you. Hey, thinking of you. Hey, man, how's it going? Or I would call somebody, call someone. What in the world? And it was incredible. I'm not going to lie. For like the first week when I was doing a lot of that, it was an incredible experience. And I started to feel really free and mentally just felt better, felt clarity, felt all sorts of things. Just it completely changed the way that I viewed stuff. And I will say, since I've been back on my smartphone, I've felt a little bit of the undoing of that. I've tried to stay the same, but ultimately brain rot just kind of creeps in and it catches you off guard. And it's definitely been something that I'm like, wow, I need to kind of get back to that a little bit, though there's been some things that have carried over. But we'll kind of get into that part of this at the tail end. But the timeline was within that first week, I was already to the point where I wasn't checking my phone constantly by the end of that week. By the second week, I was already forgetting my phone at home, my flip phone. Like no phone at all. I remember as a family, we decided we're going to go out, we're going to go do something, and we're driving down the road, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I didn't bring my flip phone or smartphone, by mind you, because I usually kept it at home. Sometimes I'd bring it to the office, but I didn't have either one. And we were going to be gone for several hours. And guess what? There was nothing within me that bred anxiety, because I guarantee some of you out there, you know, if you forget your phone, you have this sense of, oh, you feel naked without it. I didn't have that feeling. I had the most freeing feeling that I could have possibly had. And I could just I could have gone through my whole day without a phone. I got to that point by week 2, and it was incredible. It really was. I woke up in the morning and on my flip phone, there was 0 notifications. Occasionally there was a text message if I went to bed early and somebody had to text me in the evening. But like, no, there was nothing. No notifications, which gets into, I don't know what it is. I made a post on social media about going to a flip phone. So texts and phone calls, and I'll check my email occasionally and socials occasionally. People messaged me a lot less. Not sure why. Not sure if it was because of them or because of me. And what I mean by that is I don't know if it was because I sent the signal to them that I needed a break from everything, which in my post, I just kind of talked about need to do this kind of a thing. I didn't say that I was taking a big giant break. I just said much needed, like going to a flip phone. You could still contact me. You know, it wasn't like I said, stop contacting me to anybody. Or if it was them, because apparently like trying to reach somebody via social media, it seems like that's the only way people want to reach you these days. And so when all of a sudden I'm not available on social media as much, I got so much fewer text messages from my friends and from people I know and so on, like just so much less. It was actually super interesting to me. I was kind of surprised, I will say. Not like offended. Right away within that first week when I realized like just people aren't reaching out to me, I was like, huh. This kind of does suck. It almost demonstrated this principle of how many relationships would you keep up with if you didn't have social media? If the only way that you could contact somebody was phone call phone call, maybe some text messaging, how many of your friends would you actually consistently stay in touch with? If it wasn't just I'm sending you reels on Facebook or Instagram or whatever, and people that have Snapchat and all this different stuff, if it wasn't any of that, if it wasn't seeing their posts online, if it wasn't any of that, and you just had to talk to them, what would that be? What would that look like? Would you actually have as many relationships as you have now? Social media, like, you can become friends with somebody from in person, then you become friends on social media. But then I feel like social media perpetuates this friendship that lacks a real personal depth to it. And I saw that happening in front of my very eyes with friends that I had. And it's not to throw shade at any of the friends I have or anything like that, because some friends, I do know this, talking to some, they misunderstood why I went to the flip phone, which maybe it probably was I didn't communicate it clear enough. But after the fact, I communicated and we talked about it and it was all good. But like so many people, it was drastically different. I would wake up most days to Facebook notifications, Facebook Messenger, because that's the only social media I have on my phone other than Marco Polo. But I would have Marco Polos, I would have text messages, emails, things like that when I have my smartphone. Go to the flip phone, obviously eliminate the social media ones. But then all of a sudden, I literally would wake up like 5 days straight and there was 0 text messages. And throughout the day, majority of the day, no text messages. It was very surprising to me, but it was also alleviating from the process, because then when I saw people in person, there was actually things to talk about. Nowadays, when all of a sudden we want to talk to somebody about something, we message them and we think we're entitled to a direct, immediate response. And that's not the case. And I think that the flip phone really helped with my relationships. It really did. There was a different depth when I was calling people, texting people, or in person, then we would actually talk about stuff. It was really, really cool. Now, kind of the negative side and why I didn't stick with it longer, because I really wanted to. I wasn't going to do it forever, but I was going to stick with it longer than just like the 30-day mark, the month mark. But the problem is that grouped text messages were sporadic on my flip phone. Don't know why. Tried to problem solve it, tried to look into it and figure out why is this doing this, but couldn't figure it out. For some reason, some group text messages would come through and others wouldn't. My family has a group text and I would get those group text messages. But then not just my family, but my in-law family has a group message as well. And I wasn't getting any of those text messages. None. As well as my staff group text messages, which is not good because that's my work. That's my job. So after 30 days and I started getting comments from some people about, hey, did you get this? Or you haven't been active in the group text. And I was like, oh, I switched my SIM card over because there was also somebody I called and left a voicemail and they said, I never got a voicemail from you. And I'm like, what? Why is that happening? Hoping it's not to do with the flip phone, but I'm like, let me just switch over and see what happens. I had 181 missed text messages in that 30-day span, all via group text messages. Family, staff, other ministry and group things, men's group, different things of that nature, that became a real problem. And this is where I don't know if there's other flip phones out there that would maybe manage the multimedia messages more efficiently, which would be great. And I know that there's dumb smartphones, light phone, some of these other ones, but they're so expensive, and I didn't want to have to do that for something that I was going to do temporarily. Would they be a better investment now down the line? I think they would be, because like a light phone, for instance, $500 to $700. I mean, it's less expensive than a smartphone, but it at least would have the messaging. They're adding GPS, notes, music, stuff like that, where it has all that, but it eliminates the noise, the social media, and so on. And so that would be maybe a wiser investment down the line to be able to do that, to eliminate this stuff, the stress and the anxiety that social media and all these different distractions bring. It would be really good and great. But it was disappointing to me that the flip phone didn't have that. And so it's almost like our society and culture. It really is, because I talked to some people too. They'd like, man, I'd love to go to a flip phone, but my job just doesn't allow me to. It just does not allow me to. And I'm just like, I get it. I understand that, because the way society and culture is set up now. you almost have to have a smartphone. If you work a job, you need to have a smartphone, and especially if your job is uh anything to do with, you have to manage social media to get your brand out there in any way, shape, or form, you have to do this. And it's unfortunate because you kind of are forced into something that is not healthy for you. I don't think smartphones are healthy for us. I don't think they're the best way to go about communicating and living life. And I'm excited for the day where I am able to get away from the smartphone and either go to like the dumb smartphone, or if I could find a flip phone that actually could handle like multimedia message. Um, and so that was my 30 days without my smartphone with a flip phone, and it was incredible. It really was. Um, I highly recommend it. I kept my flip phone for when I go on vacations or if I need to do another like detox down the line. Um, it really was. It just was a great reset of a month. And if you're able to like risk the no group messaging, or if you can get a flip phone that handles that better, uh, that'd be great. You know, I recommend it highly for you. But that was my experience here in 2025 with a flip phone. It was truly incredible, and it really made an impact for me. It changed my productivity, my sleep, my energy, my attitude, my stress management. It changed a lot, and so I highly recommend it. Uh, yeah, so I don't know moving forward what the plan will be, but we'll see what happens. But I appreciate you guys watching the video. Make sure you like and subscribe. Hopefully going to be putting out some more videos for you in the future, talking about some things, got some ideas and stuff for videos I want to talk about. But that's going to be it for this one. We'll catch y'all later. God bless.